What if I told you that the modern era of LEGO Star Wars was over and next year we're going to be entering a new era? Now, first off, you'd probably be confused because it's the modern era. Obviously, it's not going to end and then something else begins. But today I'll be proposing what the modern era should be called and what to look forward to for where we're going next with LEGO Star Wars. Now, first off, it's important to discuss what I mean by the eras of LEGO Star Wars, because obviously it's not really an internal thing that LEGO discusses and then goes, now we're going to try something else in 2026. Basically, it's a fan designed kind of term for the specific times and year points, well, eras of LEGO Star Wars. You see this thrown a lot when people talk about, obviously, the modern era, which is often considered from 2020 onwards, or the golden age of LEGO Star Wars, which is obviously quite debatable on when that was. Now, for my definitions of these years, we start with the retro classic era, which was the first 5 years of LEGO Star Wars. This is all of your classic, obviously, first times for a lot of these sets, but look pretty outdated today, but for the time were quite good. Then from 2005 to 2007, we go into the modernized classic era, as I call it, which you'll see waves like obviously the Revenge of the Sith first wave, and you see a lot of these sets like the Sith Infiltrator, for example, kind of look like they could fit in today, or that even the 2007 MTT, but are still quite outdated. Then we go into the Clone Wars era, which lasted from 2008 to 2010. Obviously, not just Clone Wars sets, but this is pretty much the main highlight of that time. Some people consider this to be the start of the golden age of LEGO Star Wars, but I consider this kind of its own era. Obviously, Clone Wars sets didn't stop after this, even the kind of creepy, ugly faces continued to 2014, but that is kind of what this era represents. Then we get into the golden age from 2011 to September 2015. This is going to be the most debatable time on what I've included here, but I would consider this era kind of talked about as the golden age, specifically more 2012 to 2014, but even 2015 and those prior years, they have a lot of sets to offer. Then, in September 2015, we got our first wave of sets based on The Force Awakens, which led us into the sequel era. This obviously had a lot of movies being released from Star Wars, and LEGO took the focus onto those. Now, obviously, not even all these movies were sequels, but this is what this era is often defined as by fans. Now, this is where I would say we got probably the best build quality that we've ever gotten. These were very, very high standard sets, but sadly, because not necessarily all of the movies were that popular, they aren't remembered as fondly by fans. And then in 2020, we transitioned into the modern era, as people call it, or as I would like to call it, as it's ending in 2025, the Plus era. That's going to sound really stupid, but it kind of defines what the two main defining factors of this era were: 18 plus and Disney plus, which obviously had a lot of sets taking up for both of those different parts. I'll talk more about this era soon, but it's fair to say that this has been probably the most controversial era of LEGO Star Wars. Some people say it is the second golden age, whereas it has a lot of controversies in itself. But why do I even think that we are getting into a new era? Well, there are two main things that I think kind of point in that direction and kind of show that 2026 is going to be this reset year for LEGO Star Wars. And what I mean by reset year is that this is a term that kind of isn't that popular with people because it's not that discussed, but I consider it to be certain years where LEGO kind of pulls back the theme back to its roots and releases specifically usually a lot of original trilogy sets, as you've seen in years like 2021 and that January wave, for example, or even 2012. This does happen more than you think. I think even years like 2014 or 2018 are arguable for this. And it's basically just, if you see an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter, that's often a good example of that. And what do we know? In March of 2026, we're going to be in Luke Skywalker's X-Wing alongside Darth Vader's TIE Advanced. But obviously, there's something else with those sets that needs to be addressed, and if you've been living under a rock, LEGO next year is going to be implementing smart bricks. Now, these are a new LEGO invention where basically they're a technology-based brick where if you whoosh the set will make a noise or something, and if you put a minifigure in, they will interact and also make another noise. We don't really know how exactly it works yet, but that's kind of our understanding of it, and there may be more. We're not too sure yet. We don't even know if it's like app paired or works on its own. But this has affected even the minifigures, where torsos and legs of minifigures in these sets are now connected, and they have these kind of QR codey things on the back, which obviously get rid of back printing for this really ugly look. Now, this is not only affecting LEGO Star Wars. We know we're getting, for example, Pokemon sets that have the Smart Play, but this is very, very, I wouldn't even say controversial. I think everybody hates this, even me. Like, nothing about this really feels good. It is also making these sets ridiculously overpriced, more so than they even would be. Obviously, in 2024, we had the TIE Fighter and the X-Wing in one set for 110 US dollars. Now we're getting an even smaller X-Wing for only $100. This isn't adding up. We know based on what minifigures we know we're getting with Smart Play from rumors that these are going to be very original trilogy focused. We know that we're probably going to be getting a Mos Eisley Cantina set and a Dagobah set, and also a probably Return of the Jedi dual set. We'll see if those come true, but it's pretty clear that this feels like a big reset year for LEGO Star Wars, whether that's because of Smart Play or not, it is happening. But there is one more main reason that I would consider we are entering a new era. If you look back on those eras, it's pretty clear that they are quite well defined by what media was coming out at the time, like obviously the Clone Wars era and then the sequel era. And if you didn't know, next year we're getting our first Star Wars movie in cinemas, The Mandalorian Grogu, for the first time in 7 years. Year after that, we're getting Starfighter, and hopefully some more after that if they get out of development hell. But it's pretty clear that we are going to be getting maybe a movie a year again, and they are stepping back on Disney Plus shows. Ahsoka Season 2 will be the last live action Disney Plus show, at least for a while, and that will be releasing next year. Now, again, eras aren't really their own constructs, and rather they are quite fluid in how they present. Now, obviously, 2026 isn't going to be a direct shift from the modern age over to a new era, and a lot of modern age stuff is still going to continue on into this. Like, I think a lot of the strengths and even the weaknesses of this Plus era are going to continue forward. I think the modern era ending with the UCS Death Star is very thematic as well. It's expensive, it looks very cool, and it has a lot of small, tiny issues that bug a lot of people, which I think really, really sums up this era quite well. And I think that moving forward, there are a lot of things that can be changed with LEGO Star Wars that I would like to see, but it's also fair to acknowledge that there have been some very high points within this modern era. I think we'll start with the negatives. I think, obviously, pricing is the worst issue of LEGO Star Wars currently, and just LEGO in general. I think that it's not going to be getting better instantly. I don't think, like, sets are just going to go down 20%, but it is clear in 2026 that we are getting a lot of cheap sets. Whether they're overpriced or not is debatable, but they are undoubtedly cheap. For example, we are getting our first $10 set since 2006 that isn't part of like a microfighter line or some kind of sub theme with the Mandalorian Speeder, which is awesome, and I hope we get more sets like that. A lot of the sets in the January Rave are very cheap, which is incredible. Obviously, then 2 months later, there's the release of the Smart Play sets, so that doesn't kind of help that argument, but like, hopefully, not all of the sets will be too expensive, but we'll have to see on that. Otherwise, there's a lot of smaller issues that I think plague the theme for a lot of people. A lot of people complain about helmet holes. I love helmet holes. I think that the customization is good and it's kind of a weird thing to do. Anyways, I think the Stormtrooper helmet also is very controversial. Waist capes, I think, would be great if we got them back. I think there's also a lot of issues that are plaguing just Lego in general rather than just Lego style specifically. I think that includes like sticker to print quality or even just stickers to prints in general. Instructions are horrible apart from 18 plus sets, but also 18 plus box art is horrible and we need to change on that. I think we're also getting a bit too many 18 plus sets and we should move back to play scale, which hopefully we are going to be getting in 2026, but we will see on that. At least we know that next year with the Mandalorian base sets, they are getting this new, really, really nice box art that kind of brings it back to how box art was before. But then for the Clone Wars sets, they've still got the kind of corner with the stripe rather than the whole banner across the top, which is like alright, but I feel like we do need a change. Like, it's not bad box art, I did really like it when it came out, but it feels like it's stayed around way too long now. And sadly, we already know that some little minifigure quality things are still going to be continuing into 2026. I mean, we know helmet holes are there. We know, obviously, we've seen the Mandalorian Super Commandos with the silver visors, which is really, really weird. Luckily, the Mandalorian figure is fine. Still don't know why they did that, really, but whatever. But there's a lot from 2020 onwards that should be praised about LEGO Star Wars because a lot of cool stuff has happened. Obviously, I think the introduction of 18 plus may have gone a bit too far at some points, but I do love the idea of 18 plus sets. I think helmets are really cool. I love dioramas. MIDI scale is awesome to see back in a big fashion. And I think just the example of getting these really, really high expensive sets at the end of the year, which kind of started in 2021 with the AT-AT at least more consistently, is awesome. And even though I don't own any of those sets and probably won't for ages, I do think it's really cool and is something to look forward to. And one other thing is set selection has been incredible. There has been so many times where we've been surprised that LEGO is listening. Obviously started with the 501st Battle Pack. We also got Phase 2 Cody. We got Phase 2 Rex again. We got the UCS Venator. There's stuff like that, which is incredible. Even just looking at the 2025 Summer Wave, obviously all of its flaws. But imagine telling someone in 2020 that we would be getting that in 5 years. That would be insane. Like, the way that some things have been normalized, we got things that we never thought we'd get, like the 187th Republic fighter tank. What is that? Like, there have been so many things that LEGO has branched out to that fans have wanted, which is awesome to see. Even just Clone Wars sets in general, we've gotten so many, not really specific Clone Wars sets, but sets based in the Clone Wars. Not to mention, even for me, there's so many remakes of like my favorite sets of all time, like the Ghost again, the Mandalorian Starfighter. There's so many off the top of my head that I just love, and I think that this era has been incredible, even just for minifigure remakes. This has been incredible for selection itself. I'm sure that that kind of stuff will continue. I feel like LEGO might step back from the Clone Wars a bit because they've just done a lot recently. Even for like new legions, they can't really do much other than like maybe the Wolf Pack, and maybe Kashyyyk is kind of the big one that they haven't done. But even then, like, they've kind of stepped out. They're just going to have to start remaking stuff, and I think it's fair for them to just step back for a few years and then just come back to it again. Not obviously as long as, like, for the sequel era, there wasn't really any, but I think it would be very cool to kind of step back into more the original trilogy. I want another B Wing, another A Wing. There's so many sets there that I do actually really want. And I just know I'm going to have so much nostalgia for this era of LEGO Star Wars. I mean, I started this channel back in lockdown 2020, so I've been around kind of this whole time just discussing it with people as well, which has been awesome. I feel like I've kind of joined this community. Obviously, in the past few years, haven't done as many videos, but still, I do really hold this era in high regard, especially those first few years I think are incredible with so many awesome sets, and I am looking forward to what LEGO holds. I think I do have a lot more faith in them than more people, but in these past few years, yes, especially with pricing and a few other decisions, they are even holding me back. And with 2026, with those smart play sets, I am very much against them. So we'll see. I'm hesitantly moving forward into the future because I did like this era of LEGO Star Wars, and I hope that quite a few things in there do continue onwards. I think there are good trends though heading forwards as well, like maybe we'll be getting 3 UCS sets a year from now on, or the single like LEGO store exclusive set at the end of the year, like the Gingerbread 8080. Like those will be awesome to see continue, and I am looking forward to this new era to see kind of what happens. I'm very much intrigued. Anyways, though, that was kind of my random discussion on this first video in over a year, and probably my last video for over a year, but I'll be back to discuss things whenever I feel like I need to. However, yeah, that will be all for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe. That'll be all, folks. Goodbye. You know, when I first recorded that, I forgot how to say that. That feels really bad.